Do you ever wonder how much easier life would be if you, instead of jumping from YouTube video to YouTube video, course to course, you had a direct roadmap of how to grow and scale your Amazon FBA business? That's what we'll be talking about in this video. When I started selling on Amazon 5 years ago, I was asking for the same thing. I was jumping from podcast to podcast, course to course, and what ended up happening is I ended up spending over $115,000 on courses, mentorships, meetups, all of this stuff to actually learn the business. You might have the obvious next question. Well, was it worth it? I definitely think so. Since we started back, if you're new to the channel, you probably don't know this, but if you do, you already know this. But since we started about 5 years ago, we've done over $30 million in sales on Amazon. So I think the ROI has been in our favor for what we spent. If you're new to Amazon, I would suggest hitting the subscribe button and staying in touch with this channel because I'm gonna be dropping every last thing I know about selling on Amazon that I've learned over the past 5 years and has gotten us to that point. Nowadays, it's closer to about 35 million in sales, but 30 million is a nice round number that we'll leave for now. The reason I wanted to make this video and why I think it's so important is I've gotten mentorships in the wholesale space, the arbitrage space, private label space, like all these different spaces. I'm gonna be talking about a concept called playing ball where you fit in. Sometimes you don't have to shoot for the moon, but you also wanna make sure you're not too low on the supply chain to make the kind of money that you're designed for. The number I always hear is like 10 to 100K a month in profit, and we're gonna be talking about how you can get there and what's the easiest and most sustainable, safest way to get there. First thing we're gonna talk about is the supply chain. So the supply chain is so important because I'll tell you, back in 2022, right, we hit our first $1 million month. It was actually about $1.2 million a month. We were super ecstatic, I would tell you that, right? Like we couldn't like hold it in. Obviously, it's our first $1 million month. Like it was insane to us that we didn't even know we could hit something like that. I will tell you this, getting to $1 million a month the way we got there was not the easiest way to do it. We were doing something called a wholesale model, which was operating like as an online version of Target or Walmart. Now, we were still able to sustain that and it was great, but what happened is we were operating close to about 15 to 20% profit margin. What I always say is you want to move up the supply chain, getting closer to the money because you make more money, it's less headache. You have to do less transactions usually to make the same amount of money. That's what you always want to get to. That's why you see all these high ticket coaching programs and all these things. Why? Because they're able to charge more, work with less people, interact with less people, less transactions, and make more money. What I'm gonna be going over today is literally what I would have done if I could go back in time 5 years ago and restart this whole journey. So I hope you're paying attention. The person at the top of the supply chain is the manufacturer. The person that actually creates the good has the cheapest price other than the raw material. So if you want to go get a supplement, the manufacturer that's making that supplement, other than the person getting the vitamin C and the vitamin D and the whatever like that, they have the cheapest price, right? Why? They have to sell to the brand owner. Now the brand owner has to pay more because the manufacturer has to make money. The good thing about a brand owner is a brand owner can usually set their own price. They can actually end up making more than the manufacturer, obviously, because like if they're getting it for $1, they can go sell it back for $15, $30. They can make more money, generally speaking, because they control the market. I would say the brand owner obviously has the most risk in here because the manufacturer is only making what they get ordered to make. So a brand owner's gonna say, hey, make me 1,000 of these. They're gonna be like, okay, great, I'll make you 1,000, you pay me this, right? But the brand owner has to go find customers, etc., things like that. After the brand owner, what happens? It goes from brand owner to supplier distributor, right? Now, let's think about a supplier distributor, right? Once a brand owner gets it, they can sell directly to the consumer, but that doesn't always happen. Most of these brands, they get stuff in bulk, they sell it to suppliers, distributors, or retail locations, and then that's where the consumer gets it from. Let's think about your local like beauty or grocery. You see them get the trucks and the pallets come off and it drops in. That's their local supplier or distributor that's selling it to them. That person is further down the supply chain, so they're paying more. They're paying a markup from the brand owner. Then what they're doing is they're giving it over to the retail store, right? And the retail store, as we all know, is giving it to the consumer. What I see a lot of the time, and I'll create another graph over here, which is the 4 quadrants of making money selling products online. We got private label, wholesale, drop shipping, RA, OA. If you don't know what those are, I'm gonna quickly go over them. I'm gonna leave another video because I want to keep this very high level, not like beginner stuff. Private label, making your own brand. Wholesale, think about it like an online version of a Target or Walmart. Target or Walmart make a ton of money. They don't, most of the products they sell are not their own products. They get it at a wholesale price, sell it to the consumer at a retail price. Drop shipping, you never touch the product. It goes straight from manufacturer to consumer. And RAOA is buying from a retail place, like buying from Target, Walmart, Home Depot, seeing if it sells some more on like a platform like Amazon and arbitraging. Now, I went over that super quick, but I'll drop a link in the description for those beginners who are kind of like, what the hell did you just say? Dropshipping doesn't work on Amazon US, right? Too risky of a model. I've seen people make it work, but you put in way too much risk because Amazon is not a fan of it, right? They want the customer to get exactly what they ordered in a timely manner. So the three models we're going to talk about is private label, wholesale, RA, and OA. So on the supply chain, what I see is that there's different ranges in terms of capital, right? We have, I say the 0 to 5K range, 5K to 75K range, and this is monthly, 75K to 500K range, 500K and 1 million plus range. Let's leave those ranges there for now, but they're important because what I see most people try to do is they have full-time jobs, they have possibly kids, they have a significant other, and they want to make an extra 5 to 10 grand per month profit, not revenue, profit. And what they do is they try to get into this model right here, RA OA model. Now, RA OA, let's think about this. You are buying from a retail store and selling at a retail price. You're pretty far down the supply chain. Your margins are not going to be high. Your ROI is not going to be high. You're too low on the supply chain. Well, for most people, I think this is a great model, not just beginners like you're new, like beginners in terms of budget too. Like you have to have, like, if you have like $500, $1,000, start with RA OA, you can't afford to get into any of the other business models yet. But if you have like 2,500, 3,000, 5,000, I would suggest moving yourself up the ladder. I started doing wholesale with $2,500. You can too, right? But if you're brand new, RA OA is a cool model to start getting your foot in the door, start making some money. But please understand, you are so far down the supply chain. How much money do you think you're gonna make? How long do you think it's gonna take you to build a business? I can't tell you how many people fall for a trap where they think this business model can get them to multi 6 and 7 figures. I would not suggest this model. I would suggest running this model until you get here, until you get to about 5K. As soon as you get there, I would jump up. I would jump up to the next place on the map. I would go to suppliers and distributors. Now, I'm gonna talk about a split here, and that's the word authorized, right? Authorized distributors. Because not every distributor or supplier is authorized to sell you those products to resell on e-commerce. Not all of them. Those ones that are not authorized, they tend to have cheaper prices because the authorized ones tend to be like national distributors. A national distributor is great, but they charge national distributor prices. So they charge a lot more. It's a lot harder to make money with them unless you're putting in big orders. When you first get started in wholesale, you don't need to go to authorized distributors. It's very difficult to actually make money with authorized distributors when you start off, other than if they have monthly promos or crap like that. But consistently, you're not gonna see that a lot of time. The smaller mom and pop style suppliers and distributors, those are the ones that can give you a leg up. You can make a lot more money with them because they are willing to take lower margins to keep the volume up because your dollar goes a lot further with them. Your 5 grand, your 10 grand, your 15 grand goes a lot further. What I always tell people is on a lower budget, you wanna go with regular suppliers and distributors, right? Just make sure they're still legit. Like don't go for straight fake. Like it's not fake. That's not authorized to sell to you. They still have legit products. They have invoices. They have their location on Google. Like they're still a legit supplier. They might be Better Business Bureau accredited. They might have all of the stuff that they need. So when Amazon checks them, they can still prove them as legit. But you're gonna have a little bit of more friction selling on Amazon with these. Other thing I want to mention is something called retail wholesale. Now, retail wholesale is this very simple model. It's treating a retail store like a wholesale distributor, meaning you're negotiating with them. You are setting the price with them. You are letting them know how much units you can buy per month, how many sales you can buy. And that's super important. What I see people do is they go to a retail store, they buy whatever's on the freaking shelf at whatever price it is, and they don't negotiate. And they go to these big box stores and they don't have any leverage there. For retail wholesale, you can go to a smaller mom and pop store who already has connections to distributors. And you can go to them and actually negotiate the price with them and say, hey, you get it for this price. Add $1 on it, right? And I'll buy 500 units a month or 600 or 1,000, whatever it may be. For them, that's like, dude, I'm getting a free $1,000 in profit. Or like, you know, but as long as you're still making money, they're making money. And this is what we did for quite some time where we had a lower budget and it allowed us to scale on a much smaller level because we were doing direct deals with these retail stores. You would do this to get to 5 to 75K a month in sales. Now, 75K a month in sales, you should be doing like 75 at the lowest end. You should be making about 7,500 in profit. Higher end, you'll be closer to like, you know, 12K in profit, which I think you should be closer to 12K. Now you're making 12K in profit. The cool thing about 12K in profit is it's not bad money. I live in New York. It's not great money over here, but it's not bad money, especially if you still have like a regular 9 to 5 or you're still working your job, if you're not trying to replace it yet. If you are, shoot, you're making 120K, not bad. And the good thing about here, why we do this is it has a lot more consistency than the RA OA model. You are able to go to these suppliers and distributors and you're able to buy the same thing at the same price in the same quantity month after month after month. That's what allows you to do what we do. And that's literally like, we have so sold the same products in our store for sometimes over. So this is great sustainability. You have a very consistent business. The mistake I would say we made that I want you to freaking avoid, like maybe you push it to 100K a month, maybe, but the game with Amazon is changing. Amazon is leaning more towards the top end of the food chain, which is really brands and some authorized distributors. They are favoring them a lot more. They're really trying to cut out. If you're on an arbitrage level, like if you're down here, you have a hard time dealing with Amazon's rules, regulations, them just giving you a freaking headache all the time. So when you get to about 75K, and this has changed, because I would say maybe a year or two ago, I would have said, you know, take this to like 200K a month. But now I'm like, okay, you already have a skill set. You're spending some money on a brand. What you want to start doing is jumping up to authorized distributors. Now you have some actual capital to play with. Some of these authorized distributors, for them to give you those best prices, you need to be spending like 30 to 50 grand. And you don't have that until you get to this level where you can actually have money that you can actually drop into these brands. Now, this provides a whole nother level of security when you go to authorized distributors, because Amazon's not going to come after you. They're not going to give you a headache. Like, you're going to be pretty safe over here. So authorized distributors are freaking great. This is like where you want to play ball, but you have to work your way up there. Drop it in the chat if you already buy from authorized distributors. Like, you're already, like, you have your authorized distributors, you're good to go, and you like are doing over 100K. Because if you're doing authorized distributors on a low end, I'm pretty sure your profit margins are low, but let me know if not. If you're not, I'd be very impressed. After authorized distributors, you take that from 75K to around 500K a month. Now you're making good money on a low end. You have a skill set, you have capital. You need to leverage that. And you can leverage that way before you hit 500K, but this is where you really want to leverage it. You want to do brand direct. I would say you can do brand direct at around 250K. When you go directly to the brand, so high leverage. You are able to actually go in, like set the price, have super consistency, no headaches from Amazon, and you're able to actually leverage a big brand. And the cool thing about leveraging a big brand is instead of creating your own brand, creating that unicorn brand, you get to ride the unicorn. You get to ride the unicorn. The unicorn's on the way up. But the thing about any brand, any business, is they all have some problem you can solve. If you can identify what these brands, what the issue is, and you can solve them, you can make so much money. I know people doing one brand direct deal making about 200K net profit per month for one brand direct deal. But the thing is that when people try to jump into this too early, they don't have the capital to take advantage of these brands. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the skill set. So you're jumping up way too freaking early. What I would say is go there when you start doing about 200 for $1 million. You can let them know, hey, I've been spending money on your brand. I see these issues. I can fix these. You're not going to get every brand, but all you need is a few. All you need is a handful. And this is super high leverage because you can hit this $1 million a month mark working with like 2 to 4 brands, because it's way less headache for you. It's way less products to deal with. It's way more consistency. So you want to move up to dealing with these brand directs because you have the resources to now take advantage of them. Leverage big brands before you try to create your own brand. Just ride what's already going on, right? Something's already winning. Get a piece of that. When you are at $1 million a month, now you have to start shifting your mentality. I don't want to scale this. I want to scale other people. Now I want to become an owner, a real owner. I want to actually build something that's mine, an asset that's sellable. And now you have the skill set, you have the money, the resources, you have everything that's equipping you to actually become a brand owner. And the best part about this is I see people try to hop in and start their own brand with like 5K, 10K. I'm like, dude, do you have another 10K, another 20K? Like, it just doesn't work out because you putting all your eggs into one basket. And they're like, nah. And I'm like, okay, so what if it doesn't work out? You're like, damn, it's not good. So the good thing about this is you develop all the skill set. You know how Amazon works. You know how to deal with Amazon seller support. You know how to actually keep your products in stock, manage inventory. You know how to manage a brand, meaning you probably know how to do ads, or you know how to improve listings with the SEO and descriptions or pictures. You know, you have all these skill sets that now you literally leverage what's already working to create your own empire. At a point now where it's like, I have everything I need to actually feel like I'm taking less risk launching my own brand. So you're able to almost get paid to learn here, which is the cool part. This is the roadmap. Let's just recap. 0 to 5K, you want to do arbitrage. 5K to 75K a month, you want to do distributors and retail wholesale. Once you're doing about 75K or more a month, start getting more authorized distributors because you have enough capital and you've probably been spending on some brands to know exactly what you want from these authorized distributors. After 250K a month, start going brand direct, spend your money more wisely. And then after you get brand direct, develop that skill set, working on like 2 to 4 brands that you can actually like just make a shit ton of money with. Now you start your own brand. You got paid to learn. And this is how you win in this game. I really hope this was helpful. In the description, I'm gonna leave some information there about our mentorship program. If you want to just kind of work with us, if you want to get help doing any of this, dude, this is what we're doing all 2025. Really dialing in on this. So if you need any help, it's right there. I'm also gonna leave a video in the description that actually breaks down a little more the supply chain. That's gonna help you understand where you need to play ball at in your budget. All right. Hope this helped. Later.